chill.
Daddy-o, it's your pod father, your ass, and it's only me. So this is going to be a solo cast, and I'll tell you what, though. We are going to blitz through this podcast. I mean, we are going to breeze through it because apparently I'm the only one that cares about showing up and being here and providing a little bit of content, a little bit of dad-analysis, as some may say. Not to mention that, we're pretty low on views and listens for the podcast. So I want to give you content. I want to give you good content too, but I'm only going to put in as much effort. Guys, come on. You got to show up. Show up. I'm showing up. We're all showing up, and we all should be showing up because we are here. Playoffs are imminent. I mean, we're still a few weeks away, 4 weeks away, but as we go into week 11 here, we're starting to talk playoffs all the time, and it's got to be on your minds. Some teams are feeling real confident, knowing they're pretty much got this thing locked in, and others are kind of trying to, the playoffs aren't even in their mind, they're trying to avoid being in that last place spot and being too far down on the loser ladder. So let's get into it, though. I have a quick analysis for us to jump into for this playoff push, 2025 playoff push. Let's look at it. So starting us off with our near locks, these are our teams that are around that 99 plus percentage of making the playoffs, and that is our shockingly 8-2 Dayton Doodles we'll see this here in a second, but I think one of the lowest 0.4, if not the lowest 0.4 on this list here, then myself at 7-3, and then the Conk Me Laddie, the commish, also at 7-3, trailing right behind me in points. And you will notice in this that you can see our little emblem. If you're not looking at the screen, take a little glance for us. You'll see, yes, that is the Chicago flag, but you'll see why here in a second. But that's our out of town. I'm calling it right now. That's our out of town emblem for us out of townies. So let's get into that next tier. These are going to be our don't choke. Don't choke, daddies. These guys they're in a really good spot, all three of them, but it's not a sure thing. It is for one of these three teams for sure. As you'll see, our Indianapolis, our Circle City crew popping up there, and that is up in first, and the solo 7-3 team in the Circle City crew, the Bald Bison, like I said, at 7-3. Right over, peeking over the 1,000 points for Mark, followed by Sir Cox-a-Lot. Kirby is right behind him, but took a hard L this last week, but is still ahead of him in points, so we got to keep an eye on that. And then back in the out-of-townies crew, the Muncie Monstars on a little bit of a rough spell. I'm not sure, Taylor, I would love to hear a little bit of your commentary, some of your thoughts. Maybe residency's getting a little bit... This is about the time it starts to really settle in. The thrill of being a new doctor has kind of worn off, so I get it. But you have a great team, so lock in there, and we'll see what's going on with you here in a moment. But out of all of these teams, shockingly, percentage-wise, you're the most locked in. So, but don't get caught sleeping because there is still room to choke, because we have some in the hunt teams, and these teams are. They're in the hunt. They are realistically still have a chance at the playoffs. Is it going to be rough riding? Yeah, most likely, yeah. Only one of these, if those first 6 teams make it in, that only leaves room for one of these remaining in the hunt teams, and that there's not a lot of margin for error in that. So you either need to step it up and hope that one of these other teams, you got to stack on the wins. I think we have some good matchups coming up. But the first in the hunt team at 5-5 is going to be Rice Krispie, Chris Boylan. Now, we'll take a look here. He's at just under 1,000, 971.22 points for. The second closest there to the Dayton Doodles, who are 8-2. It's amazing to see this record discrepancy. But we'll come back to that here in a moment. Right underneath him, we've got the Tarkington Crawdaddies, Peyton Bennett at 4-6 with just over 1,000 points for. But right up there, as he in that Circle City crew, if he can get that record pulled together, Points for, he's going to be in a decent place. And then last but surely not least, our other pod father here, Mr. Aaron Zitch, at also 4-6, trailing behind the Tarkenton Crawdaddies at with 1,028.36. So these in the hunt teams and these don't choke teams, majority of them, we have some room. We have some room in here. So we're going to talk about some previous DDFFL history. In the Draft Daddy Fantasy Football League, in the history of the league, there has only been one team that has made it to the playoffs, and that was in 2024, and that was actually Aaron at 6-8. So at least a 500 record is the minimum. Every single year we have had at least one 500, so 7-7 team make it in. So given that we have so many teams already at the 7-8 win record, that 7 win is going to be that lower benchmark. I almost guarantee it. We could look at these stats all day long. One of those teams is going to have to sneak in there. But that being said, for those 4-win teams that are 2 games beneath 500 right now, you got to start cranking out those wins. 4 weeks left. You could theoretically finish the season at 8-6, which would be above that 500 mark. Good chance of making the playoffs there, but not a guarantee. We have had one 7-7 team, one 500 team in 2023 that didn't make the playoffs. So it's not a guarantee. So you gotta be racking up those points. That's why if the Dayton Doodles weren't feeling good at 8-2, I'm sure they'd be maybe sweating a little bit because they're lower half of the league, lower third of the league in points for. For you, Tarkenton Crawdaddies, LKA, you guys have the points, you're up there in points, but are really struggling to get those wins. Tight matchups. Got to play your week, got to get those W's. Rice Krispie, you got to snake out a couple of more of those wins, but tough schedules for some of these teams coming up as well. So, like I mentioned, of these 9 teams, 7 of them make it in. Just as a reminder for our playoff format, first number 1 team overall gets a bye, and then the first place team from both divisions make it in, but it's looking like that's going to be, right now, it would be the Bald Bison for the Circle City Crew. And then past that, it is just straight rankings, straight record, followed by points for. So points for, super important if you are in that middle of the pack. As for everybody else, let's be clear here that nobody has clinched the playoffs yet. Close. We're getting close to that point where we can start to call out some clinches. And also, nobody has been officially eliminated. Vic would be the next in line. He's also at 4-6, but points for, he's just so far behind that it's hard to justify putting him on the list. After that, it's all our 3-win teams. So the 3-win teams are the ones that are teetering on true elimination. But nothing is truly set in stone yet. There is a route to making the playoffs for everybody still, theoretically. But making that 7-win benchmark has to be that lower threshold. And with our lowest teams having 3 wins, totally makes sense. They'd have to win out and hope for some other things to fall in their favor as well. But we're getting close. This is our first real tease of talking about playoffs. We'll start talking about this every single week. But that's enough playoff talk right now, even though it impacts everything. But let's get into some Week 11 matchups. I'm going to breeze through these things, giving us just a quick overview, a little touch and go. No other podfathers sent me any kind of pick or anything in here, so it's just me, myself, and I. That's what you get with the solo cast. All right, looking at the Chicago Dogs and Conk Me Laddie, a 7-3 and a 3-7 team. This matchup is way closer than one would expect if you were looking at records alone. I think a large piece of that has to do with Devon Achane going up against Washington with Brandon. 25 projected points, as he called out there in the chat. That is an insane line just to look at that projection. If he doesn't meet that, then there's no chance in this one. Right now, it's a close one. I'm picking the Chicago Dogs in this one because I think that this could be a good week. You got to hope that there's a little bit of a shootout up there in Buffalo with Baker Mayfield, but Drake May not looking so great this last week, and lots of cues, lots of question marks for Conk Me Laddie. Hopefully, I know he hopes that these flip, but running backs are going to be a problem long-term for this team. So Seb's got some running back issues, and I think that Brandon, maybe he's found his stride. Maybe he can take a step toward the right direction here going into Week 11. Let's get to this next one. We've got LKA, Lights, Kamara, Ashton at 4-6, Mr. Aaron Zitch, and we got the Muncie Monstars, who are on a 3-game slide right now. Mentioned this a little bit earlier, but really need to win. Both these teams need to win. I think we'd all gladly take a win this week. But Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, potential previous Super Bowl matchup. We love it. We love to see that. Ashton Genty has been given points. He's still a position ranked 12, but projected 17 this week. But Bijan with Carolina, you got to think he's going to just tear him up, just rip up that Carolina defense. Where the Muncie Monstars have been really missing the boat lately has kind of been in that wide receiver, especially the Emeka Buka. He has not been producing the same amount of points that we have seen in past weeks, and going up against Buffalo could be a rough week. Rashee Rice, Kansas City going up against Denver. He has been averaging pretty well, 20 points on the season. He's only projected 13 here, but you got to hope that he has a big game because the Muncie Monstars are they're going to need every point that they can get in this one. Well, for the rest of the season, I think everybody's in that boat. Has Michael Wilson gotten it going? I don't know. Doesn't really feel like it, does it? Was that a one-hit wonder game? I think this is the Muncie Monstars. I think that he doesn't have a kicker slated back in there yet. So assuming that Taylor goes and gets a kicker thrown back in there, I think he's going to be in a good spot. Do see though that we're back to anti-Bo Nix, and I know that we had Patrick Mahomes on the bye, but man, what a frustrating ride that has been for LKA. Bo Nix has been kind of thrown around, but to watch Peyton go and have such a big week with him, and then just really dudded for you. He does have Kamara on bye this week, so I think this is he's getting him in a little bit easier week this week, are the Monstars, and I think that's why they take away the W on this one. Let's keep it going. We got the Victorville Villains versus the G-Train Rats. This was going to be real quick for you. These two teams, Vic did get the W last week, but that was to end a 5-game slide that he had. Meanwhile, the G-Train Rats are on a 5-game losing streak as well. Just to throw this out there, a 6-game losing streak, I believe, is the longest losing streak we've had. So record watch, not the good record, though, for Glenn. If there is a team that you would hope that he could pull it off the win, it would be against Victorville. Lamar Jackson going up against Cleveland. Glenn's got to be pulling for, he's always pulling for his Browns, but hoping that they're able to just shut Lamar down because it's felt a little boom bust lately. But maybe they're back. Baltimore is clearly, they're near the driver's seat in their division. I'm going to go with the Victorville Villains on this one. I just don't think that Glenn has enough firepower, and that especially has in the wide. Maybe does he have anything to move around? Not really. Yeah, not a lot of additional star power. Not a lot of points on the bench for Glenn here. And Victorville, while he is still really lacking with Justice Hill, if he gets a touchdown, he's 1 yard, 1 touchdown. I think that's what won him last week. That's crazy. It works. I guess he might squeak by. I still don't think it's a playoff contention team. G-Train Rats started out the season so strong, and I'm just not sure what's going on. What's going on there, buddy? So I'm going Victorville Villains on this one. I'm getting to my matchup here this week. Myself, the Assville Amphetamines at 7-3, taking on the Bald Bison, also at 7-3. As it stands right now, he's got J.J. McCarthy. We've got a straight matchup. Caleb Williams and J.J. McCarthy facing off 1-1. I'm taking myself in this one. I'll just throw it out there pretty straightforward. I don't know if there's a whole lot more to talk about because Assville Amphetamines, we're cooking right now, and we're trying to make this thing work. We're trying to knock off those Dayton Doodles, and it'd be ridiculous to not choose myself. I gotta go with me, myself, and I. Sorry, Bald Bison. Best of luck to you this week. We'll see what happens in this matchup. Speaking of the Dayton Doodles, let's get into that matchup. Dayton Doodles, Thomas McComb taking on Rice Krispie, Chris Boylan, 5-5 and 8-2. While maybe not similar in record, they are pretty close in points. And I think this is gonna be a good matchup to watch this week. It looks like Chris is gonna start a quarterback. He missed that last week, taking on me. And Dayton Doodles going with Jameis Winston. It looks like we'll see how that plays out. They're going up against that tough Green Bay defense. To keep it sweet and short, the points are there for Rice Krispie, and he's he can get this win. This is a very winnable week for him. The Dayton Doodles, still just, man, he's 8-2. That's just absolutely insane. Once again, speaking just from me, myself, and I, love for Chris to be able to pull off a W here. Give us some space between the Dayton Doodles and the rest of our division, the rest of the league for that matter. I'm going Rice Krispie on this one. And our last one before we get into the matchup of the week, this is a near matchup of the week, but it's 2, 3, and 7 teams. That's the Jacksonville Jacks and Team Keegs. But both these teams kind of turned it on, at least points-wise. Team Keegs got a W last week, while Jack fell off of his win streak and took the loss. But looking like a really close matchup here. Matt Stafford and Marcus Mariota. We love it. This one is going to be a fun one to watch. I wish that there was more on the line for these two teams because they're both kind of not out of theoretic by the numbers, not out of playoff contention, but I mean, let's call a spade here, right? We know that both of these teams can put up points. I think the biggest questions here, I would give this to the Jacksonville Jacks with 2 conditions, though. Can CeeDee Lamb get it together? And right now, he's only averaging 12.1 points per week, and he's projected 16. So need a touchdown. He's going to be very dependent on that touchdown. And is Rico Dowdle going to play this week? Yes or no? If he is a no-go, I say that this one goes to Team Keegs. If Rico Dowdle plays, then I think this one's going to the Jacksonville Jacks. He has really taken over that number 1 position. And on the flip side, Demont kind of fallen off. We're seeing this struggle bus here for Detroit in these last couple weeks. We'll see what happens when they're taking on, again, a pretty decent defense in Philadelphia. Kind of some tough matchups here for Team Keegs, but I think Rico Dowdle playing gives this one to the Jacks. All right, Speedcast, here we go. Last one. It's time for our matchup of the week. And this one is mainly going to be our matchup of the week because of what's on the line here for these teams. Same division. We've got the Tarkenton Crawdaddies at 4-6, and then Sir Coxlot at 6-4. So both of these teams could be brought back down to that 5-5 spot. An absolute must-win week, I would say, for both of these teams, but the Tarkenton Crawdaddies need this to stay in contention, and really, a win here would put them well in contention for the playoffs. And it has to happen. Everybody has a bye week, and Peyton happened to draw a really good card on this one against Sir Coxlot because his big point scorer, his star, his stud, his workhorse, Jonathan Taylor, is on bye this week, so he's getting a JT-less Sir Coxlot, which is putting him clearly in a winning position as far as current projections. And even when you look at the averages across the board, that's where we're going to go back to Sir Coxlot. He's got the points there, but if Tyrone Tracy has probably been felt like a bust here for the Tarkenton Crawdaddies, and also Rome has seemed very touchdown dependent, or at least big play dependent. Peyton, we have to call out again the loss of Tucker Kraft. I know that one is absolutely stinging. Kind of probably felt like a real jar to the heart, especially when you were in a good spot to at least make a playoff run. Still are with a win this week. Last week, filling in 7-7, still under in points. Going to be very, very touchdown dependent. At 3 targets, it's not bad, and he got all 3 of those, but still just not putting up the same numbers that Tucker Kraft did. I'm going to go for the Tarkenton Crawdaddies on this one. This is a big underdog week for me, and I think Peyton needs the win, and I think that he definitely has the points for it. What's going to be real make or break is for Sir Coxlot, and it kind of has been outside of JT, is his Charger stack here. He's got QJ, Quentin Johnson, and Justin Herbert, but really just Justin Herbert has the ability to put up big points, and they've got Jacksonville. Potential for him to put up some big points this week. He's going to need it. Sir Coxlot is to take down the Tarkenton Crawdaddies as Peyton also hoping for a shootout there with Josh Allen there in Buffalo. And time, boom, sub 20 pod. We did it, daddies. Well, I did. We got through it. Can I get this to you before kickoff? That's right now. It is currently 6:24. I started recording around 6 o'clock here on this Thursday. I'm going to export this thing, send it off to you. Daddies, I love you. Hope that this was at least a little something, a little ear candy, a little quick fix for you. Let's get into this week 11. Best of luck to all you daddies. Love you all. From Aaron Zitch himself, mwah. Love you, daddies.